And welcome back to another episode of me reading this book to you guys because I like reading. Now, there's something, so we're going to 1982, so we got 3 more years until we get to Super Mario Bros. Where I'm probably going to put more music, but I'm probably going to put more music before then. But we're going to start off with, we're still in the arcade games apparently, but the only arcade game I've played from these four is the last one, which is Joust. I have played Joust a lot more. So we're gonna start off with Gorf. Golf. I don't even know how to pronounce that. Arcade game. It's a midway game, and it's a shoot 'em up. So it's an arcade. 1981. We're still in 1981 still. But so let's do this. Long live Gorf. Gorf. I don't even know if I'm saying it right. Cries the Gorf arcade machine when you begin the game. Okay. Thanks to its vortex text speech synthesize chip. You know the reason why I know synthesizer chip. You know the reason why I know synthesize is because of Tales of Asperia. Because there's a trophy where you have to synthesize every single fucking item in that game. Drives you nuts. So yeah. While the title's legacy lives on, however, Gorf is one of the most frequently overlooked Space Invaders inspired titles from the arcade heyday of the early 1980s. Yes, because when Mario Bros. Came into the league, the original Nintendo kind of made home consoles more superior to the arcade machines. Because if you go to an arcade now, they pretty much unless you're in a bowling alley, there's no one in a fucking arcade game unless it has something other than arcade games in it. Like there's a few, but there's pretty much no one in an arcade unless you go to Japan, I believe. But whatever. Gorf Switch stands for Galactica Orbiting Force. It's a Galactica Orbiting Robot Force. That's what it's named as. That's interesting. It is likely passed over because what makes it so groundbreaking is its first game to feature district levels. Also, fortunately, makes it a jack of all trades. I've heard that expression before. Jack of all wow, there's a lot of stuff. Jack of all trades. Where are we? Stands for Jack of all trades and the master. Man, there's a lot of stuff reading about this page. Master of None, which within its 5 missions, grow up apes. There's only 5 missions. That's fucking disappointing. It's I don't even know contemporaries with the first being in battle against a slow approaching crab walking invaders, and the third bluntly caused Galactians. So it's pretty much a sequel to Galaga, apparently. The final mission distinguishes itself by one of the arcade's earliest bosses. Oh, so this game actually has boss fights. Okay. The flagship before looping back to the first mission with the difference of increased difficulty. So the more times you beat the game, the more difficulty the game gets because it's 5. What's an arcade machine? They have because some people might be that this good. So the more that they're better at the game, the more difficulty they increase because they it loops infinitely because that's what arcade machines do back in the day. I don't know if they do it all nowadays, but yeah. This multi-stage design at such an early point in gaming history unfortunately means that each of Gorf's missions as polished as the perceived similar design of completing oh wait, where the hell am I? Conclusion design of competing titles such as Galaxy. Okay, in several aspects such as mudden graphics and slightly vague collision detection. I've seen that before. Fucking Psycho 6 has bad collision detection. makes the whole package feels rather well, the Xbox 360 version. I know in Sonic 06 someone did all the levels by making them better, but it's on PC, so let's involve one unique aspect in particular, the cork laser, which is allows the player's spaceship to cancel its one allow at a time and refire. Feels like a cork rather than a game enhancement machine. So this game is buggy as shit. That's what they're telling us. So why the fuck is it in the book in the first place if I don't want to play it if it's too fucking buggy? Like seriously, what the fuck? That makes no fucking sense. But it, it's all in the voice. It's all in your head. Thanks to a flexibility of its speech synthesizer unit, Robotic Master can taunt the player with 25 different phrases, often directly referencing current rank gained by rapidly beating a set of missions. The game is flawed. Golf draws you back because you can't let the machine insult you and then get away with a long-lived golf indeed. So pretty much the game tells you that, hey buddy, you suck. Come play my game. Like that's fucking disrespectful. People get fucking irritated when the game tells you that, hey, you suck, go fuck yourself, play the game again, want to get better, and then people play it again because that's how they do it. Rage baiting, I got ya. Okay, so NT My Eye, it's a role playing game. We haven't had a lot of role playing games back in lately, but when we get to the 90s and 2000s, that's all we're gonna be seeing nowadays. So it's gonna be really interesting. So yeah, a milestone in computer role playing game CRPG history. The early days of Richard Garrett's Ultimate series in autonomous, originally designed for the Apple II computer. Really? Ultima 1, the first Age of Darkness, was first self published and sold in Ziploc bags. Really? I do apologize for the train. There's been a couple of trains that came up here. It's like 1:11 in the morning, so I do apologize. Popularity became such that by the time of the third installment, it had turned from a student hobby to a $1 million industry. Okay. Ultimate 1, the first age of darkness, takes place in the medieval style land of Caesarea. The two main characters are the protagonists. Well, don't know shit, Shock. Oops, I did not want to do that. Protagonist, a character who the player creates, star of the game, and the evil wizard Medin, whose gem of immortality seemingly invincible. The player task is to overthrow Medin. So pretty much they're trying to overflow it. Overflow Medin. Where were we? Overflow. Where are we? Damn it! I hate when I have to scroll down. Fuck. The two main characters, the protagonists. Okay. To overthrow Medin. This is achieved completing series of quests. So it's a quest game. Well, that's what RPGs are. Usually by venturing into a dungeon and killing monsters, which enables the player to require a time machine. What is this, Bill and Ted 10 Adventures? Like, what the fuck? Go back into the past and kill before he has discovered the powerful stone. In spite of its importance in the story of the CRPG genre, Ultimate 1 now seems an impossible, dated, and awkward game in everything from setting to design, but back in 1981 it seemed to offer a groundbreaking level of imagination. Why does this word keep coming up? Like, we're gonna keep getting this imagination word A lot more, a lot less when we move forward. So yeah, because games back in the 80s are like ridiculous, enabling the player to take roles and technically marvel new roles and exploring entire worlds with freedom. Game was also a technical marvel. Its top-down title, ti- title. I don't know what that word is because it's missing a T, so it's not title. Base graphics allowing for creatures of large, yeah, colorful environments on a system with limited storage space. Well, it's made by Apple. Well, it was for Apple II computers, so these top-down third-person views alternate with dungeons views in the first person. Material 1 even include. I don't even know if I'm reading the fucking game right. People are gonna roast me in the comments section after I'm done reading this. A combat section there. This is probably gonna be the longest video that I make at the moment because these are a lot more. Okay, so where the hell space combat section? There were other graphical rich video games inspired by Dungeons and Dragons out there. Yes, which is Phantom Zone, which we will get into Phantom Zone, I believe. I think that was made by Sega. So we'll get into that game because I know that game's on here because they have like a bunch of fucking sequels. I know this because they always put fucking the fucking Sega Genesis collection for the PlayStation 4, which they discontinued. Well, pretty much they put it out they got rid of it on the PlayStation 4 PlayStation Store. Fantasy Zone's on I think Fantasy Zone 1 and 2 are on there. I don't know. I have to double check, but I know there's a bunch of collections that have Fantasy Star. So search Tech Wizardly to name one notable example, but few can argue with one's impact of the international CRPG scene, both as a camaraderie, I don't even know, and an artistic prospect. Okay. So Gravatar, what the hell is this Pokemon? So it's made by Atari. It's a shoot 'em up. The perfect game for anyone who thought that asteroids needed more in the way of crash landing. Gravatar takes the what is that word? Same spin and thrust flight mechanics. I thought even though that was an M, I thought it was two R's for some stupid reason and an I. I do apologize for that. Same, well, because my laptop's dirty. Same spin-off mechanics and expand it into an engrossing game of space exploration. So it's pretty much asteroids. Well, then again, it's a 1980. Oh yeah, we're in 82 now. An arcade Atari shoot 'em up. Your ship begins in the middle of a cluster of planets. It's out in search of fuel. Yep, that's where the kicker comes in. That's when you know you're fucked. As you get close to a planet, the perspective switches to the landscape and then zooms even closer as you to the ground. Yep, that's old school gaming for you. Well, arcade games apparently, where your target lied, and that's where the challenge kicks in because, as the title suggests, the main charismatic of Gravatar, I'm going to call it Gravatar because that's why I think it says, is that it is a game centered on effects and gravity. Okay. Designed by Mike Hawley, later who designed Atari's hit Star Wars the arcade games. Really? I did not know that. I didn't know Star Wars had an arcade game. Gravatar was a complete dud in the arcades. So it sucked. See, why is it on here if you said the game was a dud? Like, seriously, what the fuck? You're contradicting yourself when you put the game in the fucking book. Like, you put Gravatar saying that it's you should play this game because it's 1001 video games you must play before you die. But you're saying it's a fucking dud in the fucking when you're reading it. That's fucking stupid. Like, learn how to be fucking. Indeed, the units were often converted to run the Black Widow game. So I got shafted by Black Widow game. Black Widow had actually an arcade game. I didn't know that, which used the same hardware. It wasn't until the late 1980s that it was given to proper home release. Atari 2600. Okay. It's easy to see why Gravistar didn't thrive in the arcade. Is a complex game that takes practice and finances. It's a shoot 'em up. How is it complex? You shoot stuff, you run around, and that's it. Like I understand the first person the shoot 'em up games back in the 80s and pretty much until Doom. Well, shoot 'em up games were not very good until Wolfenstein 3D. I think in '92 or '91. But that's the only time that because first person shooters in the 80s kind of fucking suck. Gravity, the arcade game's complex takes place in finances, and even asteroids didn't compare to you for it. You can move the ship by spinning and rocketing forward to change directions. You have to spin counter thrust and then begin moving back the other way. There's far too many steps to deal if you're falling straight at the ground, and it you do manage to persevere over all of that. In later levels, you'll contend invisible planets, so you even see what you're trying to avoid. Above all, the tricky flight mechanics is the best reason. Give Gravitar another look. It's fascinating as a larval space. I think that's what it says. Exploration game. As you learn how to switch perspectives from the open map to an outer space dogfight, a raid on a planet, and even modern games rarely often the chance to tackle thrust, fuel, and the example of gravity. Yeah, because most games don't. Most games and nowadays, even nowadays, game when it comes to space games, they don't do gravitational pulls when it comes to going to a close planet. I think yeah, that's what my opinion is. Now the last game, which by the way, this video is already 18 plus. So this is probably gonna be the longest video that we've done so far when it comes to reading this book because they have a lot to say about these four games, and I commend it for it. Although I don't know why Gravatar is always negative in the beginning when I was reading it, which baffles the fuck out of me. Like we just read something negative about the game, so why is it in the fucking book? I thought it was just supposed to be positive stuff about the game, but no, the book says fuck you. So that's why I'm getting my this perspective of this. Okay, so our Joust. I have played Joust though. Joust was a good game. Although when you play, I used to play Joust on that collection that I told you guys about in the last game, in the like a few pages ago, I believe, where there's a PlayStation 2 port of Joust. The only problem is the fact that the game that we used to play on Joust had infinite amounts of lives, so you can die multiple times and get away with it. That's the problem with Joust. So, arcade games of old often tended to be little arbitrary in their choice of themes. Yes, same goes for Joust. Joust is no better. I don't believe that. I'm a yellow ball with a drug habit. Okay, why would you put that? I'm Italian. I'm an Italian carpenter with a girlfriend who's kidnapped by a pet gorilla. Okay. Is that a reference to Godzilla, King Kong, or what the hell? You know this sort of thing. But Joust is particularly weird in these standards. Yes, it is weird. It isn't about days of old when knights for maidens outside of a torturing tale castle. It's about days when they did all of ostriches and in two-player games of storks. Yes, this is a two-player game, which I forgot about that. I know it's a two-player game. Why the hell do I thought it was not a two-player game? It's better than it sounds. Played on a series of platforms. Yes, you can play on the PlayStation 2. That's where I played it. Overlooking with Spy Hunter and all those types of games. Overlooking a pit of lava, Joust flings waves after wave of enemies. Night Mountain on giant buzzards at the player. The player tasks is simply to ride at them and gore with lance. Yes, with a joystick to move the right and a button to take you into the sky. Be a little butt burst. I know this game is really fucking fun, but for some reason you probably wasted a lot of quarters for this game. The game is simple to play but tricky to master, particularly when the waves increase infinitely and the enemies start dropping eggs, then spawn more powerful enemies if they are not destroyed. Yes, as surprisingly as it may seem, Joust was rather a popular game. So much so that a sequel, Joust 2 Survival of the Fittest, was released in 1986. I did not know that, but safe to say that audience expectations for digital entertainment have moved on a little since then. Oh, so it had the issue. So when it comes to sequels, if you don't make a sequel right away, like Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man, like for example, Miss Pac-Man was made a year after Pac-Man, so they're running off the high. Um, Joust 2 probably had the problem of being released in 1986 because the original Joust was made in 1982. So that's 4 years of not having a Joust game. And most people have short attention spans when it comes to a franchise, and that's what killed the series, I believe. Because if Joust 2 was terrible and it's not in this book, then it's probably bad. And bearing a global outbreak of Brian Herbs in the decision making ranks of Entertainment Corporation. The Williams Classic unlikely to get a further airing. Yeah, because probably the first game. This might instead want to track it down on both the Xbox Live Arcade service. Well, apparently that you can't get that anymore because the arcade Xbox 360 arcade service is shut off immediately, and the PlayStation Network. Oh, you might get it on PlayStation unless they got rid of that too. Beyond that, this ostrich battling sim is a protect. Or you could get on the PlayStation 2 because I've got that game. Reminder of what we lost when the arcade dream faded. As games become more commercial and more mainstream, the scope for kind of insanity is inevitable, somewhat diminished for shame. So I have to say this. I commend. I am very appreciative of what I just read because these four games had a lot to say, and that gives me a lot of respect for these four games. Like I played Joust, never played the other three, but if you have that much to say in a small paragraph, because they bunched freaking four freaking games in one fucking page, which we've only seen that done twice now. Um, that gives my utmost respect. So, what's the next games? We're going to the Hobbit. Oh, really? We're doing the Hobbit and Choplifter. I've I've seen Choplifter somewhere. I don't know if I've ever played it though. The Hobbit I've never played, but I do know the fucking series. So we're getting into there. This is probably the longest video that I've ever done of reading this book, and I'm gonna say this: it's gonna be sporadic all over the place because I want to give my thoughts on what I'm reading as well. So it's gonna be really interesting. I know the next game's gonna be really interesting because the first sentence has blockbuster, and that's not good. Because blockbuster, I think only has one store left, or it might have been closed down for some reason. I don't fucking know. So I hope you guys have a nice positive night, and always stay positive.